All right, here we go again. Um, could you please give us the history of the MarCat
Sure.
and how it came together?
Sure. MarCat has a rather short history so far, but it's becoming a long-standing tradition with the committee now. A big part of SAB's programming is finding out what students want to see, and we primarily do that through the All-Student Survey, which the Market Research Committee puts together. Every committee submits questions. Engaging Issues had submitted some about what students wanted to see as far as a new program. We kept getting a response that sustainability was something that was kind of on their minds. And so Engaging Issues is a committee which does lots of different events, things that are controversial, things that are taboo, things that deal with broadening the horizons of students' education. And so this really aligned with our own core values. So the director, who was director the year before me, in fall of 2010, proposed a farmers market for the spring of 2011, which is when the first one was held. And so what that farmers market basically entailed was an on-campus version of the Lexington Farmers Market, which is usually downtown. So we contacted different local vendors, Kentucky Proud Farmers, to come and present their products on campus and to sell them to the students, and also to involve some student organizations who dealt with sustainability through their own core values, so that students could not only purchase the products, but be educated about the whole issue as well. So it gave them a chance to interact with an important part of the Commonwealth's economy. So the one in the spring was the first one that we had. We had a little over 200 people. It went relatively well. I mean, honestly, I think it went great. The people really loved it. It was a great response. We had the reusable totes and everything as well, which was a big hit. And it ministered to not only students, but to faculty and staff as well. So given the response we had then, we did it again in the fall. And it went pretty well again. We want to make it bigger and better in semesters to come though.
Right. Since you mentioned sustainability, how would you define sustainability?
I would define sustainability simply as mindfulness. That can go a lot of ways, but I think in this case it means being mindful of your actions, what exactly you're putting into your body,
right.
What you're eating, because on a chemical level that does become part of you. Yeah. And so just trying to be economically profitable too in your actions and being mindful about what you're eating.
I know you just vaguely mentioned that you had plans to expand this, but how would you expand it? Would you mean it like more of a more than once a semester kind of deal, or what?
For the Student Activities Board, it mainly has to be an educational event. So in other words, we can't just bring people and just sell a bunch of stuff. Because that's the case, we can only keep it to once a semester. However, we are wanting to keep it as a semesterly series. One thing that we're doing to make the MarCat in the spring, hopefully bigger and better, is making sure we have a good group of farmers there. We had great ones in the spring. In the fall, we had some issues just with, some people canceling last minute and things, which happens. But now that we've had it 2 semesters, we've established really good relationships with 7 and 8 vendors who have said and have offered, absolutely, invite us back. We'll definitely help. We love this. But one thing they really expressed an interest in, as well as everyone that attended, was they wanted it to be outside. The last 2 semesters we've had it, it's been held in Bois Armory, which has a very large semicircle door on the front, so you can kind of see. It's kind of a central location, but it takes away from the MarCat experience. So this semester, we were finally allowed to move it outside. So it will hopefully be on the Student Center patio, and that provides just a better location for the MarCat. So we're crossing our fingers that that will happen at the end of next spring. Another thing that we're seeking to do is to involve more organizations. So we're hoping to work with other student groups who know other community groups who can all come together and just make it a better experience for the MarCat rather than just being stuck inside a building.
How would you consider sustainability in the food system that's on campus, through maybe dining services or other things involved in that nature?
Not sure I understand.
Your definition of sustainability, how it exists on campus. Do you think that it is well existing on campus or not?
Okay.
And how SAB kind of assists in that in the MarCat kind of
can
sense.
help that. Yeah. There's 2 ways to look at it as it exists on campus. UK dining services in and of themselves all of the produce that they buy, all of those fresh ingredients, are all bought from Kentucky Pod vendors, actually. So they do an excellent job as far as purchasing those local healthy products and preparing them. On the student side, I mean, let's be honest, we're all busy college students, so it's a challenge often to be mindful. It really is, because you're on the go, you're trying to hopefully be here and do a good job in your classes and your other involvement opportunities. So it's a challenge, but I think that's where the MarCat can come in and try to help. SAB is one of the largest student-run organizations on campus, and because of that, we have a very large sphere of influence. But there's a very large element of stewardship involved in that as well. And so it is not only our job to program for the students that we serve, but to do it in a meaningful way that meets a need. And so, since mindfulness is obviously a challenge and sustainability is something that's on students' minds, that's where we can come and meet that need with the MarCat and showcase this important part of the Commonwealth economy and say, here's some really delicious, healthy foods from local farmers. Here's some student groups who are interested in this kind of stuff. So if you want to stay involved, you can. And it just kind of shows them what's out there and what's possible and the effects that their eating habits can have on the environment.
Since you've been mentioning our lovely college life that we have to deal with, how would you give advice, or what advice would you give to a health illiterate student on campus who's not really aware of the whole organic or eating healthy kind of options, that they were never raised that way?
I would tell them to be curious, because really, from personal experience, that's very much how it started for me. To be honest, before the MarCat, before I began working on it in spring of 2011, helping put that first one together as an associate director at that time, I was very ignorant myself. I didn't, you buy into the stereotype of organic. It's expensive. There's not that much different about it. But really, there is. It helps that mindfulness in a way, because you're putting better things in your body. Which can sound cliche, but it's very true when you get to researching it and learning these things. And so I came to learn through helping put that event together and talking to these different farmers and different organizations that sustainability is very important. And so I would just say to students to be curious. You don't have to write a research paper on this to understand it. Go to a MarCat, walk downtown, 10 minutes down the road, and go to the MarCat on a Saturday morning if you have nothing else to do. Read a little pamphlet from a sustainability organization on campus or in the community, and just start becoming educated, slowly but surely. And you can do a much better job of being health literate.
I have pretty much one final question. Since you've mentioned all the organizations and everything, are there any on-campus groups that you would recommend to students who are, conscious of these kinds of things and want to get more involved, apart from the SAB?
The Student Sustainability Council, I know, does a great job. Shane Tedder helps head that up, and is a faculty member and runs that wonderfully. The Student Dietetics Association is also an excellent student organization, just helping students, realize healthy options for eating and the like. The College of Agriculture actually has a program called SAG, which stands for Sustainable Agriculture, of course, and it's actually a prefix for a lot of intro classes, which students can take. Dr. Mark Williams is director of that program, and they do an excellent job just educating students, even if you're not in the ag major. It's really fun to learn about. So I would recommend those. And then the Center for Community Outreach actually knows, I know that they're aware of other community organizations that deal with these things as well, for instance, like Seedly and such.
Great. Are there any final things that you would like to say to our students and give them hope, if you will?
Sure. I would just like to say, come out to the MarCat next April. And we'll hopefully see you there, and even beyond that, between now and then, start looking into this stuff. It's really fascinating when you get to learn about it, and I think it will help us all become better people if we're all committed to an initiative like this.
Okay. Well,